Hello everyone, welcome to Redbus US channel. In this video, we'll look at the H1B Visa lottery predictions for this fiscal year 2023. This is what we'll cover in this video. So we'll look at the factors that will influence the high level factors, and then we'll look at each of those factors in detail, be it historical trends and vaccination, all of these things, right? So this is what we'll cover in this video. It'll be a little more detailed, so just bear with me with this. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates on H1B Visa and other updates as well. Now, on a high level, right, these are the trends that we believe that are going to influence the H1B registrations count. So we look at each of them in detail, but at a high level, historical trends, the state of US economy, the vaccination situation and the travel situation, how H1B approval rates have changed over the last year, and the situation of OPT and STEM OPT students, how many are there. We look at H4 EAD, how that can influence. We look at past applicants, right, who did not get picked in H1B Lottery, and there are some changes to H1B registration text. So these are the things that we will cover in detail in the upcoming sections. So firstly, let's look at the historical trend, right? So this is how the historical trend looks like from 2004 to 2022. So we have data for the last 10 plus years, and so this is how it looks. So as you can see, right, the trend is pretty staggering, right? In the last almost 9 consecutive years, we had H1B Visa lottery. So starting from FY 2014, right? So it's a quite amount of time that we had this, and you can see the only peaks or only drops in that is whenever we had recessions back in 2008 and 9, and and before that early 2000s, right? So that's the only time we saw the demand drop. Other times we always had demand, and so the summary by looking at this the graph or trends, it clearly tells that there will be lottery. I mean, that's obvious. Now, the next question is how many numbers or what are the registrations? That's a big number. So we will actually look at that in the upcoming sections. But what this trend clearly tells is we will have lottery. So that's kind of decided yet. Now let's look at the second aspect of it. As you can see, right, these are the number of slots available and how many have been filed. So from 2004, you see, right, we get 85,000 when there is no lottery, and then whenever there is lottery, we get that extra spike of filings that were done. And you see, as we keep coming from 2013 year or fiscal year 2014, it keeps going up from 124k, 172k, on 200,000, 236k, then slight drop, and then now last year it was crazy, 308k. So highest ever filed, So it's crazy if you look at these numbers, and this trend definitely tells that it's on the rise. It doesn't look like it's going to fall down, just like stock market. It looks on it's like a bull's market, right? So we see that it's going to go up. So this is something just looking at mathematical analysis, it just sees that it's going to go up, right? But of course, there's a lot of things that are tied to that. So that's what we will cover in the next sections. Yeah. So the first one is US economy, right? US economy is actually one of the biggest drivers for employment. And growth, and the second one is unemployment. So if you look at the graphs, right, this is from Trading Economics, thanks to them, right? They have a good tool to compare these things. So if you look at the GDP growth, when the pandemic started, there is a big dip, and then it kind of came back in like a couple quarters, and since then, right, last year it was slightly low, and now it's about close to I would say 6.4 or 6 some number, right? But you can see in the graph it's very healthy. It's actually better than previous years, right? But of course there are a lot of changes because of the inflation, very high inflation we have. So all of these also contribute to that GDP numbers, right? Now, the second aspect is US unemployment rate. It's almost back to normal, right? We're close to 4% now. This is pre-pandemic levels, maybe 0.1% plus or minus we're there. But we're almost there, We had a big spike in unemployment numbers, but they're back to normal. So all in all, looking at this chart, it tells that we are almost there with economy and unemployment. So we have a healthy US economy. There are more jobs. And then when there are more jobs, that means that there are more opportunities for H1B holders, and there will be more hiring of H1B holders. So this essentially tells that there will be more demand for H1B holders in this upcoming season. So that is the key message, looking at these positive aspects of US economy and lower unemployment rates. Now let's look at the COVID vaccination situation, right? So if you look at it, the COVID pandemic situation is much better now with vaccination. I mean, you see the numbers are pretty significant, but the death rate is really, really low because of the vaccination, and also hospitalization is, rate is low. So what is happening is, and also they have enforced this, heavy push for vaccination, and they're mandating. Of course, there are a lot of lawsuits happening, but on a macro level, right? You see a lot of vaccination. It's a much more better environment than last year. So all of these, right? What it means is that they have lifted the travel bans. They're pretty much, almost, almost none travel bans, right? Except few countries here and there. There are no travel bans, just concerned in terms of COVID pandemic. So what this means is that many H1B holders in the last year or a year before, they could not travel to US because of the COVID. Even though they got selected, they couldn't get stamping, they couldn't travel. So many employers actually, even though they were selected in registration, they did not file because they didn't know what was going to happen. So that is why we had the second round lottery, third round lottery as well, right? So it's crazy, I mean, I never imagined we would even go to third round lottery. But the fundamental reason is many were not sure, and of course there was a lot of fraud involved as well. We can consider that as well, because there was a lawsuit also on that. There are many people who duped, who kind of played with the system. That also could be the reason for the filings. But irrespective, there is definitely a good number of employers who could not honor that because they could not bring them, to the US, right? So that was one of the reasons. So now, if you selected, you can get and you can travel to the US. So what this means is, it's actually a positive environment for employers. If you're an offshore and you wanted to go on site, especially the MNCs, right, that are doing this kind of transfers between countries. So they would be more keen to apply this year because it's much more friendly environment. And and also, the stamping now is, if you already had one stamping, any stamping, you could get a Dropbox appointment, which is even friendly. So it's actually a fantastic time. So this actually, what it does is it increases the number of people going to apply. So it's going to have a positive effect on the number of filings. So that's what it means for this fiscal year. Now let's look at the Biden administration H1B approval rates. So you see the denial rates have really significantly come down to 4%. You see the when we had the Trump administration, they were like 20% plus 24, 21, and then it came into 13. Now we're at 4%. So if you see the overall graph in the last 10 years, it's kind of getting back to normal. Actually, even the lowest, I would say, in the last decade, right? 4% denial rate, which is this for new employment. It's very, very relevant because this is really for the first time H1B applicants filing for H1B. So all it tells is, if I were to be an employer applying for H1B, I'm going to be very keen on applying because the denial rates are very low. So might as well, right? And just to give you a perspective of how this has panned out, right? If you just, here is an example of one of the outsourcing companies, Tata Consultancy, right? So credit H1B grader, because they have all this interface where you can look at a company and get a full view of their approvals and denials and everything, right? So this is a graph of their approvals, USCIS approvals, right? And you can see the dip in 2019 and 20, and now they're actually at like 93% and 6%. So almost same numbers as the the global numbers that we see for oral H1Bs. But as an outsourcing company, you see there's a 2% dip there. But yeah, all in all, what it tells is if it's very positive for employers, and they're going to really file more H1Bs without any hesitation, because the approvals are coming in well. So nobody wants to take a this is a good time to actually immigration friendly administration now. F1 students are actually, I would say the key driver for H1B quota. So if you look at them, right, many of them could not travel to US. Some of them did classes remotely. Some of them traveled half and half. But if you look at it, the graph from Open Doors, who track the entire trends, right? So there is a 15% drop in the overall international students enrollment, right? But it doesn't really move the needle much. You see in terms of OPT students, there are about still 200,000 plus, only about 20,000 less, right? And so I mean, the impact is there's definitely impact, but 15% is a big number. But for H1B holders, the key persons who will be applying for it is OPT students. So that's not much actually. If you look at this, hardly 10%, right? 223 to 203, right? Okay, so it's not much. And if you look at last 3 years, if somebody having STEM OPT and all of that, right? So it's fairly stable, I would say. It doesn't really change much. So the total F1 OPT students and STEM OPT students, they add up about they are about 200,000 in the US. So what this tells is, okay, just look at another stat, right? Of that 200,000 OPT students, 40% of them are OPT students, and they are in STEM category. Yeah, this is something very, very important to note. And just looking at numbers from last year, for FY22, they had about 48% of H1B registrations were under masters. So what it means is that about 148K of the 308K were coming from master students. And if you look at it that way, right, we haven't had a significant change in OPT numbers. So just for this year, if all of the people, just like if it was like last year, you would have anywhere from 140 to 150,000 registrations just from these F1 students alone. It's kind of crazy, but this is almost close to double in terms of available cap numbers. But this is a significant driver for H1B registrations, and we believe that this is the numbers we can expect from them from OPT students this year. So that's the idea. Now looking at next aspect, H4 EAD things, right? So Biden administration has withdrawn these plans after they came into power, and also what it means is there is no going away, right? The H4 EAD is here to stay, at least when the administration is here, right? So many would prefer to work on H4 EAD. These are especially for people who qualify for it. Not every H4 holder can work for it. If you have your green card process going on and your I-140 approved and things like that, right? But this is a significant number of people would rather now hold H4 EAD because they can work for any company. And also now they are going to introduce H4 EAD premium processing. So they just cleared the OMB, like this week, right? Actually last week. So it's going to be effective very, very soon, we are hoping. So this is very less hassle for H4 EAD holders with the premium processing. So all of these are very positive, right, for H4 holders. And there are a significant number of H4 holders, in the past they used to apply, all of them or good amount of them would apply. Now this positive things on H4 EAD side would reduce the number of H1B filings from H4 EAD holders, or H4. So we would say a decrease from registrations from them. And the past applicants, right? We have seen users try for 5 to 6 times, especially on our site. In itself, I've seen many users, unfortunately. All your hard work is put to luck. It's sad, but that's the reality, right? So just going by human tendency, I would rather apply like few times. What do is if there is a company willing to sponsor and they have a job, and let's say I'm already working for that company, the company wouldn't mind applying again. So just going by that, many of these past applicants would come back and apply this year because it's still one of the good economies, to work, right? This is still the best place for employment to make money, right? And to have your own life, right? So still is a lucrative place. So many people we expect past holders can come back. So this is and it's completely online. It's very easy for employers, just $10. So all of these are very, very positive for users to come back, and this is definitely going to add up more H1B registrations, right? So that's what it means. So one last thing, right, is the changes to the H1B registration text. So if you see, this is the change. They've added a new clause telling that if they find out that the attestation was not true, they're going to report to agencies for enforcement. Just to be very, very clear, this is not really fully new. There is a part of it was already there. If you look at the a part of it, you were in the past, you still were signing under penalty of perjury. So what that means is you are basically signing under oath, telling that I'm going to sponsor and whatever I'm signing is true and there is real job. But now they've actually added more clarification on that, telling that once you do this, we will actually ensure that this is actually true. You can't really collude with consulting companies. There is one job and 5 people, 5 companies basically collude together and just apply multiple registrations just to game the system. So they're going to really look closely this year on this and then do that. So that's why they put an extra clause here. But this probably maybe reduce like 5%, not much more than that, right? But it doesn't really change the overall game because the employment market is hot. Many people are actually applying for jobs. There are multiple offers. If you're a good grad and might have offers from good companies, and many people will be willing to apply for this, right? So the whole idea is this may deter some consulting companies, but it's I believe it's not going to have a lot of impact on the overall filings, right? Now the magic thing, right? Okay, what is the summary, right? So far we've looked at these things. So on the first one, the historical trends, it tells that we'll have lottery. The economy is positive. We'll have more H1B registrations. The COVID is also in a much better shape than last year. So we'll have more registrations, better H1B approval rates, more H1B registrations, more F1 students and OPT students, more H1B registrations. So this is like the factors and what is a summary of that, right? And H4 EAD, less H1B registrations because there are much more positive things for them, right? Past applicants, they're going to come back, more will be filing, and changes to H1B registration tax may be slightly less, right? So net on it, if you see, there are more factors telling that there'll be more people filing. That's the idea. And most of the factors, if you weigh in, all of them are looking towards more H1B registrations for this year, and the economy is also doing well this year. So based on the above analysis, right, what we believe that there is a very high demand for H1B visas, and we may even see a small spike in the registration submitted for FY 2023. And now the magic number, right? So again, it's a very tricky year to predict, but last year we were like we didn't really hit on that, because it completely different year, right? We completely we didn't really it was not correct numbers, right? But this year we definitely believe that it might be better prediction. I would say if we can expect anywhere from 310,000 to 340k. So this is like the conservative numbers, could even go higher, but I guess we should be somewhere in these numbers this year. If people are going to follow the same things what happened last year. Looking at all the major factors, right? So that's what our predictions for this year. So lastly, in terms of timelines, it starts from today, March 1st, right? And it'll be for 18 days. And basically, you can file anytime between 18 days. There is no rush, and the results will come anywhere from March 25th to March 31st. So so they'll announce that, or sometimes you even get notified. And if you get selected, the filing date starts from April 1st, and then it ends on June 30th. You get about 90 days to do that. And then second round lottery, no one knows if they will have or not, but looking at the trend, we may have a second round lottery. But the idea is USCIS selects anywhere 15% more registrations. So this time they may even select more, who knows, right? So we'll have to see how this will pan out. So we'll only know about this second round lottery after June 30th. So don't think about it too much right now. Just focus on, work with your employers and go for the filings. So good luck everybody who are going for the lottery. So thank you for watching and bearing with us. This is a long video. Thank you, and do subscribe for getting regular updates.